welcome everyone to the latest episode of Shaping Your Success, brought to you by Hey Legal and the Law Society of Scotland. I hope you've enjoyed our content thus far. Today, it's a great pleasure to be joined by George Blair. George is the founder and managing director of Denovo Business Intelligence, a company that will be known to many of the viewers, one that powers hundreds of law firms in the UK through their case management software. George has recently been, promoted, elevated to the role of chairman, and now takes on a different role, and we're going to cover that in our talk today. Denovo are the main sponsors of the Shaping Your Success channel, for which we are profoundly grateful. George, great to see you. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you, Ali. Thank you, first of all, for inviting me along to this interview, which I find a bit strange, to be honest. But it is what it is.
No, it's a delight to have you, and it'll be good to have a conversation. You've got much insight to provide. You've been working with law firms in Scotland in particular for a long time, and it'll be great to get that external and internal perspective. External in that you're running a separate type of business, but you also know the legal landscape very well. So if we start with that, you've been working with Scottish law firms since, believe it or not, the 1980s. I'm sure the time has flown by, George, but can you tell us how the services you've provided to law firms have changed over the years? Because they have, quite profoundly.
Yeah, you said that very gracefully, to say the least, as regards my age. But yeah, I have been working with lawyers since about 1980. I think a wee bit of potted history might help give you an idea as to where I came from. I started working for Olivetti Computers way back around about 1980, and I was fairly quickly put into a position whereby Olivetti trained us to basically sell and supply systems to lawyers in Scotland. And back in those days, it was predominantly for accounts. In fact, 100% for accounts at that time. It was the old cash accounting machines that we actually supplied at the time. And Olivetti were at the forefront of the technology at that point, in the sense that even before the SOLAS qualifications were in existence, Olivetti had highly trained individuals who were the equivalent of cashiers, really knew their stuff. And obviously, I piggybacked off that and got to learn so much about lawyers, but it was predominantly for accounts. The market then moved on a wee bit, and it went from those accounting machines onto the very first PCs. And the opportunity arose for me to set up and become what was called a VAR, a value-added reseller for Olivetti, where we took on their M20 range of hardware, which were basically PCs, the equivalent of the IBM PC, Compact, that type of thing. And so because of the knowledge that I'd built up within Olivetti regarding legal accounts, it was logical that whatever we did would follow suit along those same lines. So we developed one of the first legal cash accounting systems on PCs, and we had quite tremendous success with it at the outset. But as time moved on, people's requirements changed. And then also there was a lot of changes within the hardware market. So in those days, the PCs were single user PCs. Then networking came out. So you could get things like local area networks where you could have a handful of PCs talking to each other. And so we developed our software to be able to cope with that. So that was called a local area network. And then fairly soon thereafter, the World Wide Web came out, and everybody was jumping on the bandwagon of getting software that could somehow communicate and be available on the internet. And then it was a number of years after that the capability of cloud came about. As time was moving on, clients' demands became more stringent, and instead of them just wanting accounts, they wanted us to develop things like time recording, which was a major user of time for lawyers. Most lawyers would say to you, I don't have time to record my time. And I saw that as being a very important factor to be able to help them record their time. And then further along the lines, there came the opportunity, and because of client requests asking for some form of case management, we started developing that. So we had an initial release of case management a way back, which we learnt an awful lot from. It had its bumps and its problems because the hardware could only go so far and the software could only go so far. And as time moved on, we've now reached this stage with our product caseload that we feel covers almost every requirement that we come across in relation to lawyers. We also took the view as a company that we should never say no to lawyers when they make requests, even though sometimes how daft they sound, because sometimes in their innocence, a lawyer might ask a question which makes sense to them, but from an IT perspective doesn't necessarily make sense. But we started listening and I suppose taking that information on board and just continue to develop many options within the software. Our policy still is to very much listen to clients and try and give them what they want and try and give them IT that helps them minimize their tasks on a day-to-day basis, their manual tasks. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. No, that's a brilliant quick history of the changes in your business, the ones that you've piloted, because obviously what you've referenced there has been that technology has developed, client demands in tandem with that have developed as they see the opportunities that are becoming available to them. And I think in particular to chime with the shaping your success type of vibe, always interested in hearing from founders and entrepreneurs and disruptors. So you've outlined changes in your offering, taking strategic decisions at times, moving from hardware into software into the cloud. What advice would you give anyone in business who's thinking of making big decisions, who's thinking of pivoting, maybe in one direction, I'm selling this, but the market's taking me here, or I think the trajectory is going in this direction here? What advice would you give to those people?
There's a few things I could possibly say on that. I think one of the key things is paying attention and listening to your clients' needs. That's absolutely critical. The way I look at it for what we do, lawyers, it's a complex environment. They handle all sorts of different types of work in cases. And some of the forward-thinking lawyers come out with great ideas that we should take on board. I remember very clearly a lawyer whose name shall remain anonymous, but he said to me a number of years ago that as when the iPads first came out, he says, I want to be able to look at an electronic file that I can just flick through with my finger. Now, in those days, that just wasn't possible. But we searched and tried to find all sorts of different ways of trying to handle that. So in the early stages of what we did, we handled that in a form not as good as we can nowadays. So I think one of the key things for these people when they're going into business and they need to make big decisions in their business about possible change is to embrace the change, to go at it positively, listen to what your clients want and try and deliver that to them in the best possible fashion that you can. Look at what software development tools that are available. Can they offer the client what they require? And hopefully in most cases nowadays, we can tend to deliver what they require. So I think the key thing there, I suppose I'm really saying is listen to your clients. It's very important. As regards some changes that you may need to make, some of them take a lot of guts to actually make the change. So as an example, for us, we developed our first range of case management with a lot of pain and effort and mistakes and just a variety of issues that we came across. And at one point, we suddenly realized, wait a minute, there are better tools out in the market there. We decided to purchase those tools and start to redevelop our software again, which has culminated in the current product, which is Caseload, which just gives us so much flexibility. And it means, in effect, that you've got to be really bold about your decision-making. And sometimes, and I presume this applies probably to the likes of lawyers as well. If you're in a particular, and this is my opinion on it, if you're in a particular market sector that, for whatever reason, is maybe not paying the way, it might be, and probably a very painful and difficult decision to take, to actually decide to do a different type of law, and therefore retrain yourself to do that. But I think sometimes in business, again, it's back to what are your clients asking you to do for them? If you've got clients that are continually asking you to do executory and you don't know anything about executory, but you've got loads of clients asking for that, it makes sense to learn about that and or bring in expertise to do it. So I think some bold decisions sometimes are required. So I suppose that in summary there, the key things are being brave about your decisions, listening to your clients is just paramount to me. You've got to listen to them. Again, does that make sense to you?
Of course. No, absolutely. I think that hearing from your customers without the cold face, what their needs are, understanding their world is obviously key to developing resources that will really take their business forward. But I presume there's also an element from Denovo and for yourself personally, where you've been horizon scanning and looking at things and saying, look, I see the rise of the cloud. I'm starting to see much more. We partner with Microsoft. I'm starting to hear about cloud-based offering. And again, that's a transition for the business to say we move from servers and offices into suddenly saying this could be cloud-based. And then you've got to take that to your customers and in a sense, speak to them about it, educate them about it, collaborate with them, tell them about the opportunity. So there's a two-way street as well. You're listening to clients, but you're also informing them about what the possibilities are going forward.
Yeah, that's all true. Another good example for us as a business was that our first releases of legal account software were based on the Unix platform. Then along came Microsoft and they completely turned the market upside down. And we were faced for over a period of a couple of years, do we change or do we die? And we decided to bite the bullet and rewrite our software in that environment. To be honest with you, in saying that, we've actually redeveloped our software over the years, probably 4 or 5 times. It's just an ongoing process. And it's about listening to your clients, educating and being educated yourself about those changes, and therefore being able to educate your clients. And again, listen to what they need and try and deliver using the latest tools in the marketplace. I think constant development is very important to be able to deliver those things to legal firms. And as you've correctly said, there is a constant battle. A lot of people talk about lawyers that they go at snail pace sometimes. They actually don't, but it appears like that sometimes. And I think it's a situation that we need to educate from an IT perspective the benefits of what IT can deliver to the lawyer. And because, like any business, they're up against it. They've got to make money today to pay the bills this month, next month, and so on. So they fear change, they fear new technology because they think it might put them back a step or two. But in reality, it's back to the brave decision making. If they make those bold decisions, they will ultimately pay off, and possibly pay off over short, medium, and long term. Again, the example of my own business, when we developed Caseload, it was a huge exercise for us and a costly exercise, but it's paying its way. So in the medium and long term, it was definitely 100% the right decision to take. And I would emphasize to other business people, lawyers or whatever, to try and take the same point of view if they can. It can be scary though.
Yeah, I'm sure it has, but you've outlined a very interesting, challenging, demanding, successful journey, which all sounds great. I'm sure you look back now, there were scary moments, but there's also great pleasure in that, the fact that you've navigated business to the position that it's in now. So on that note, as referenced at the start, you have a new role as chairman of Denovo, so congratulations in relation to that. Yeah, very well deserved. So can you maybe just tell our viewers, what will that role be? And I presume an element of it will be sharing your experience and still plotting a route forward. So how important do you think it is that experienced business leaders share their knowledge with their own teams and generally?
I think to share knowledge that you've built up is very useful. It starts obviously internally within your own company. So the example of me becoming CEO, and Stephen Hill becoming managing director of the company, I feel as if that he's been there, he's seen all the gremlins and things like that over the last 10, 12 years. He's learned a lot, hopefully, from me, and he's turned into the successful guy he now is. And I actually get a wee bit, I feel good about that. That also applies to the market generally. And I actually take it as a major compliment. I really mean that, for anybody to ask me what I've learned over the years. What can I offer? What kind of advice can I offer them as a business? And I remember years ago, I used to look at some of these other iconic business leaders in the marketplace and listen to them, think, wow, I wish I could get to that position. And there's this element of you feel as though you're not worthy of it. But so I take it as a great compliment, but I also think that it's very important, because all businesses, you make mistakes as you go along. And it's about maybe explaining to other business leaders who are maybe a bit younger or whatever, what the types of mistakes are, and don't let them overcome you. You can overcome most things in a business environment if you pay attention to it and do it properly and professionally. So be delighted with any business. I would welcome any clients that I know to ask me any advice that they want to hear from me. And hopefully I might just be able to give them that one wee gem that might help their business.
Yeah, I'm sure, absolutely. There's great pleasure in that. As you say, when you help other people, primarily, that's good. But in doing so and focusing in on, as you said, the mistakes that are made, like the footballers say, that you learn more from defeats than you do from victories. You move on quickly from the victory, but you'd ponder the defeat and think, why did that happen? And then plot and work hard and strategize to prevent it happening again. But you learn so much, and I suppose you in the darker moments, really, to be honest.
No, absolutely. Business has its ups and downs, and fortunately for us, I suppose there's been more ups than downs. But again, it's back to, if you can just offer somebody that wee bit of advice that might just curtail those downs for them, to me, I think that's invaluable. Because I look back to some of the people I spoke to over the years, and some of the tiny wee tips as regards our business were fantastic. They were just, even going back to 1980 and my training in Olivetti, honestly, it was just fantastic. That's lived with me my whole business life. So it's incredible how other people's experience can be a benefit to you if they're prepared to share it with you.
Yeah, and I'm sure they are. I'm sure people are more than delighted when someone comes along, a genuine fashion, to ask for a bit of assistance or a bit of thought. It's a nice dynamic to have in place. So on that very theme, can I ask you this? You've been working, as I've said, in the legal sector for a long time, and you're now you've seen lawyers setting up businesses throughout the decades and approaching that in different ways. But for our younger lawyer audience who'll be watching this, looking to gain some insights, what traits do you see in younger lawyers who are setting up law firms today? How do they differ in the 80s and so on?
I personally think that, first of all, younger lawyers are going to school nowadays. They start off in primary school, then secondary school, then university, and everything is IT based. So immediately they have an insight into IT at a greater level than people like me and possibly yourself, Ali, would have had in your days. So I think that's a major step forward for them, because they take IT as being not something they desire, but something they absolutely need. I've witnessed situations where I've actually spoken to a few young lawyers, and one in particular springs to mind, where he was interviewed by quite a large legal firm and decided not to join them because they didn't have the right IT in place. So I think they are influenced by it. And I think is there a great deal of difference though between them and a trainee lawyer of whatever, 30 years ago? Probably not in their acumen as regards the job, and being taught how to deal with clients and all that is something that they build up with experience. And if they're with a good firm, that kind of trait comes along with it. So I think the main thing that I see with young lawyers nowadays is just their knowledge of things like networking, IT do for them, because they take it for granted. I mean, I'm sure I certainly do. I look at my sons sometimes and they do things with their iPads, etc., etc. And I go, how do you do that? How did you achieve that? And for them, it's just normal. For me, it's still slightly magical sometimes, but it works. So I think with young lawyers coming into the market, being able to offer some IT knowledge to their elders in the practice can be very good for the practice if it's embraced. So I think lawyers, there's as many smart lawyers today, young smart lawyers, as there were 30, 40 years ago. And there were plenty of smart young lawyers 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah. This period that we're talking about is one that's been transformative in history in terms of the rise of personal computing, work-based computing, the internet, the cloud. We're now at the start of the era of generative artificial intelligence. So we're in a world of rapid change. And as you say, so the young lawyers of today have grown up in that environment much more than was the case for the generation before. So it's very interesting. On the note of giving advice to others, if somebody was setting up in business today, generally, just anyone setting up in business, what's the key things, what's the key bits of advice you would give to them? If one of your sons came along and said, I'm setting up in business, or a neighbour, friend, family friend, whatever it would be, what would you say to them?
I suppose the basic business rules apply. Understand the market. What does the market require? What is it you're prepared to offer? What are you able to offer? And do the usual things like the SWOT analysis. Establish that what you're offering can be delivered at an appropriate price range. Do you understand enough about it? Are you prepared to listen to what your clients are telling you? So the usual things as regards business, you need to be on the ball, pay attention to your accounts. I'm sure you've witnessed this over the years as well, Ali. How many legal firms set up and don't properly run their accounts in the first year or two, and suddenly the Law Society are breathing down their neck? This applies to any business, of course, but paying attention to your accounts, your month-to-month costs, and making sure that you don't allow them to get out of hand is absolutely critical to business. So I would suggest the very basic business rules of analysing what the clients require, making sure that you're able to deliver that, making sure that your price point is right for the market, and delivering quality and listening to your clients. I think, again, back to something we spoke about earlier on, I think it's absolutely essential to listen to what they actually want and not deliver to them what you think they want.
Absolutely. Very wise words. On that note, as we now look towards the future, what hopes do you have for Denovo in the next few years?
Denovo is going through, I think, Ali, we're going through quite a growth spurt. In Scotland, I hope I'm not talking out of turn here, but we seem to be picking up a fair share of the market. We seem to be doing the right things for lawyers in the marketplace, and we're getting recognised for that. I really want that to continue. We've obviously ventured into England recently, and I foresee with the English market being 10 times the size of the Scottish market, that should continue. So the team that I have round about me, including Callum and Stephen, Grant, and so on, I just want them to help the business grow from strength to strength. And I see no reason, if we carry on with the same ethos that we've got and looking after our clients and caring about them, that should continue. So I just, possibly more success. For me now, it's no longer a situation that I'm sitting worrying about how do I pay the next bill or that kind of stuff. So it's about just trying to be very good at what we do. And for me to encourage the guys that are in the team to enable them to do that.
Yeah, brilliant. So with a changed role and a bit more spare time on your hands, learned, of course, what do you think you will be focusing on doing? What's your plans?
What, as regards the business or personally?
Personally, both. Personally, probably. What do you plan to do?
I think the business is continuing to grow, so it's looking after itself to some extent. Obviously, I've got a really good team of guys in the business that are running it day to day. As regards my own ambitions for the business, I just want to help and look for ways of helping the business grow. And because I'm now CEO and I'm not involved in the day-to-day micromanagement of the company, it gives me time to go away and relax and think about some of these things and hopefully be able to deliver intelligent solutions or answers to some of their questions. As regards myself personally, you possibly know that I'm fond of a wee bike ride from time to time. And I recently was in the position where I managed to be able to afford a house in Spain. I go back and forward to Spain on a fairly regular basis to try and get as much cycling in. I think you reach a stage in life where your health is your wealth, and I'm trying to look after my health at the moment. So this position enables me to do that. Although you heard about my bike crash, so a negative side sometimes, but if I hadn't been maybe as fit as I suppose I've got myself into, I'd have probably been much worse off. So the cycling is just fantastic.
Yeah, and I know that you recently, I know despite your recent accident, which was on your return to Scotland, but you recently completed a cycle trip to Seville, which was quite an achievement.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. It was a charitable cycle that we did. We raised, as a group of people, there were 34 of us, we raised the guts of £100,000 for various local charities, which for me was just fantastic. I just thought it was great. It was a tough challenge. At my age, going to Spain, cycling from Bilbao down to Seville. To give you an idea, the first day was 97 miles and 8,600 feet of climbing. The guys going around Glasgow at the moment probably are glad that I've retired. Retired from cycling, that is.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but no, it's just a tremendous sport that keeps your brain healthy, keeps your body healthy.
Yeah.
So I just, more things like that, trying to look after myself overall, I think for me is important moving forward.
Yeah, congratulations on that. And you're absolutely right. Your health is your wealth. After a long career, not that it's coming to an end, but yes, in order to enjoy the fruits of your labour, you need to be able to physically and mentally be able to do so. So I'm sure the younger lawyers we talked about earlier setting up firms today very possibly have more of that in their focus than might have been the case over the last decades. There's probably no doubt about that.
I think that's true, Alan. I think younger people nowadays, I would like to believe, tend to want to look after themselves better. I certainly grew up in an environment when you were a young man, you were in Glasgow every weekend, getting absolutely hammered, probably. The dynamic of that's changed. A lot of young people hardly even drink nowadays, which is a great thing. I've actually gone that way as well. I hardly touch a drink nowadays simply because of cycling. It just doesn't let me do that.
Yeah, doesn't do that. No, brilliant. Congratulations. Thank you so much. Congratulations on your new role. Wish you every success and the business, obviously. Stephen, Grant, Callum, the whole team in relation to everything that you're doing. Thank you so much for joining me today for the Shaping Your Success channel. It's been a pleasure talking to you and getting your insights in relation to all of these matters. I look forward to releasing this content. And thank you again to Denovo for being the sponsors of the Shaping Your Success channel, which is very, very good of you to do and much appreciated. So thanks a lot, George.
You're welcome. And I appreciate you inviting me along to do this. It was a pleasant surprise.
It's been a pleasure, and thank you so much for taking the time and thought that you have, and I've thoroughly enjoyed talking to you. Thanks a lot.